for national needs. This is why Bill Gates can move on and not Warren Buffett, because Bill Gates found his deeper emotional need, and Warren Buffett thinks that his emotional need is make more money, or make more money from other people. You have been designing and managing our life all these years. We just didn't think of it in those terms. Now, so we talked about the old profile and the process and tools for designing good life is when you have come deep into your emotional needs, you will be able to, based on those emotional needs, come to a new purpose, and then you can list your new profile, describe your profile, and then figure out how you get there from here. This is a small diversion. We are basically, we designers as a generation. We are designers. We are the baby boomers. And the baby boomers, the biggest group of pioneers ever. We changed the world from the time we fought against the Vietnamese War, the Civil Rights Movement, human rights. We were the first group of really trained professional managers. We were asset managers. We are companies that went from local to global. And so we did a lot of things that are redesigning not only our life, not only our community, our society, actually is the whole world. Now, we may say that we have gone a little bit wrong with that globalization, but I think we are on the right track of getting the ship back on track. And we broke and break many of life records. We went to the moon. We are living longer than all the previous generations. But most importantly, as a group, we have 30 more years to live. Now, 30 more years to live is, to me, awesome in a way that people used to live to 45. So all they have is 45 years old to accumulate and store up knowledge and wisdom. And then they took them with it when they die. But if you have 40 years more, that means 80 years, and you have, you live until 65, and you have 25 years to sit quietly and philosophize and also put down your wisdom. So when you go, you have all the time to leave your wisdom either down on paper, on lectures, on videos, on books. Then the whole world would benefit from it. Each of us has a unique combination of interests. My interest is education, art, life management. 20 years ago when I talked about life management, about self-development, people looked at me like I was crazy. You're a businessman. You're a rational man. This is like touchy-feely thing. But actually, if you walk into any bookstore now, the biggest section is on personal development. So I was a little bit ahead of my time, and that's why I can talk about it now, because I had like 10 years to think about it before the rest of you guys come along. I hope I'm the oldest one in this discussion. So we should make sure that we do the right thing if that's the last thing we do, because we are the vouch that once we are gone, there will be no same group of people that have the same money. Money is the thing that we as a group have more than the previous generation, and I'm sure you realize that we have more money than the future generation. So we should make sure that we do the right thing. We are similar generation. Society has spent all its resources educating the first and second age. And there's nothing left. We are it. There's nobody, the government and the schools and the society has no money left to educate the third age. So we are responsible for educating ourselves and creating the material, the vehicle, the institutions that will teach all those to come. So we are the designer of life for all future generations. So we should take this task seriously. Navigating through your transition. I understand, I'm looking at the clock. I may not have too much time, so I'm going to skip. I'm going to go right to the part that helps us to navigate through the transition. I use 5 books. Or, as they said, when the student is ready, the teacher would appear. I was ready, but my teacher didn't come. But I assembled my teaching, my board of directors on teaching me how to make the transition. And I used 5 books. The 5 books, one is a math book. The second one is a process book, and then two manuals, and then an arrival book, a book that teaches you what it's like when you have arrived. The first book is called New Passages. That's by Gail Sheehy. Some of you may have read this book or have come across her previous book. It was called Passages. She wrote that book about 30 years ago in the 1980s, talking about the passages that a person would go through in life. Then she had to stop because at that time she was only 50 years old. She could not write about 60 years old and 70 years old. So it's not until the late 1990s that she could finish her journey book. So this book gives us a bird's eye view of what it's like in your early days, and then in your first adulthood, and she called it the second adulthood, is from 45 to 85. She also tells us that we are not alone, and but it is a marathon race, and it has a marathon effect. That marathon effect is in the beginning of life, everybody starts from the same starting line. So you run shoulder to shoulder or to your classmates and friends. When you get to be 50, 55, 65, it's like in the last quarter of the marathon race. You don't run in a big crowd anymore. You kind of run in clusters. And you can see the runners, some of them, run it all by themselves. So, and then maybe a cluster of 5, and a cluster of 7, you cannot catch up with the friend in front of you, and yet you cannot wait for the friend behind you. So you make the reps out of the cluster you have, but a lot of times you felt that, particularly the men, feel that they are alone. And it is not true. This is why I created the Good Life Initiative